Saturday, May 20th, 2017, Hamburg, Pennsylvania. Bruce Henn's Garage first annual Dyno Day. There are some pretty cool cars on display, including some of the garage's works in progress, and some clients' cars, including an original Shelby GT500 and a McLaren MP4-12C. Now, some cars got one run, some cars got 3 or 4, so to make this whole process a lot simpler, I'm going to give you guys the best number from their best run. The day began with Scott Lutz's 2004 Mustang Mach 1. And the power this car put down was 290 wheel horsepower at 5,650 RPM. The following car was David Brooker's 1968 Camaro. And that made 376 crank horsepower at 5,050 RPM. Next, keeping it in the Chevrolet family, was Kevin Henn's 1969 Nova. And that beast put down 335 crank horsepower at 5,100 RPM. Chugging along, we had Chris Devough's 1998 Pontiac Trans Am, which, spoiler alert, made the largest number of the day. And that number was 995 crank horsepower at 5,400 RPM. And coming back to the Mustangs, Scott Sowers brought his 2003 Mustang Cobra, which made 510 horsepower at 5,850 RPM. Next up, representing the island nation of Japan, was John White's 1989 Toyota MR2 Turbo. It put down 313 crank horsepower at 6,750 RPM, the highest peak RPM of the day. Following the only mid-engine car of the day was the only front-wheel drive car of the day, and that was Anthony Ferroir's 1992 Volkswagen GTI with a VR6 turbo, putting down a very impressive 568 crank horsepower at 6,700 RPM. Next up, the legend itself, a 2016 Charger SRT Hellcat provided by Brett Stefan. And this is a stock car that, props to Dodge, made more than the claimed 707 horsepower. The Charger Hellcat put 729 crank horsepower down at 5,500 RPM. Not to be outdone, next up was Mark Castor's 2006 Mustang GT, making 760 crank horsepower at 5,700 RPM. And the last car of the day, certainly not least, was this C6 Corvette that made 680 crank horsepower at 5,950 RPM. Bruce Henn's Garage's first annual Dyno Day was a ton of fun. Boy Scouts were there selling food, some local businesses were there representing, plenty of awesome sponsors, there were giveaways. Definitely recommend keeping an eye out, keeping an ear out for next year's. Great event, don't miss it. Thanks for watching.